Hello to everyone, and since New Year's Eve is approaching, we're naturally opening up the topic of pets because most dogs are afraid of these nights. They're mainly scared because of fireworks and firecrackers, since they can hear 35 times better than humans. And if they hear some noise in their surroundings that they can't identify and don't know what to associate it with, they naturally get scared. This fear manifests itself in different ways. Dogs might get scared and simply seek out your presence more, or they might curl up somewhere, they might even tremble, or they could hide away completely. And in the worst cases, it can even happen that the dogs run away, whether from the yard or even from a walk. That's why I absolutely recommend that if you have a dog in the yard, you should ideally keep them somewhere enclosed during New Year's Eve. Of course, ideally it should be somewhere where you are as well, so the dog is in your presence. The same applies to dogs that you keep indoors. It is definitely not recommended to leave the dogs alone. And if you have a dog that is afraid during New Year's Eve, let's talk about how we can help them. We've already talked about some things you can do yourself, things that anyone can do. Then of course, you can consult with a veterinarian and set up some conventional medications for the dogs. Of course, conventional medications can also have their own effects. They may not necessarily have side effects, but it's still chemistry, of course, and when possible, we try to help the animals in a more natural way. And specifically for New Year's Eve anxiety, we can try using CBD. Specifically either CBD drops or even CBD treats, for example. CBD drops work within the endocannabinoid system, which every mammal actually has. They help harmonize the body and calm the dogs down. So if you give them these drops, your dog should handle New Year's Eve much better than they would without them. In some cases, they even work better than conventional medications. Of course, in some cases, they might work a bit less effectively, so it's important to really try it out. If you decide to use CBD before New Year's Eve, it's best to start giving it to your dogs ideally at least at the beginning of December. CBD is a natural substance, so the body needs a bit of time to get used to it in order for it to have the maximum effect. It's good to start with a lower dose, gradually increase the dosage, and then a few days before New Year's Eve give the maximum dose, and do the same on New Year's Eve itself. But let's talk about this with some specific examples. So, in general, in our range you can find that we have 3 concentrations of oils. If we're talking about choosing an oil, 2%, 5%, and 10%. So, if I have a small dog, say up to 4 or 5 kilograms, I choose the 2% oil. I start by giving 1 drop per day, then after about 14 days I increase to 2 drops per day. So 1 drop in the morning, 1 drop in the evening. A week before New Year's Eve, I would give 2 drops in the morning and 2 drops in the evening. And on the day of New Year's Eve itself, I would even give 2 drops 3 times during the day. The drops are administered directly into the mouth. In general, dogs like the taste of hemp, so there are usually no problems with this. These 2% drops can also be used, for example, with cats. The 5% concentration is suitable for animals that weigh up to about 15 kilograms. The dosing is the same as before. Start a month in advance by giving 1 drop per day. After 14 days, increase to 2 drops per day, and then a few days before New Year's Eve, increase to 2 drops twice a day. The ideal interval is 20 minutes between meals. For dogs that weigh over 15 kilograms, ideally over 18 kilograms, up to about 35 kilograms, you can use the 10% drops. The dosing is again exactly the same as I mentioned for the other drops. If someone has a really large dog, meaning 40 kilograms or more, there is the option to give them, for example, CBD oil for horses, which we also offer. In that case, just 3.4 milliliters per day is enough. For smaller dogs, that oil would already be too strong, but if we're really dealing with such a horse, such a dog that looks like a small pony, then I would definitely recommend the CBD for horses. And then we also offer, for example, CBD treats, where 1 treat actually corresponds to 1 drop of 5% CBD oil. We have them in rabbit flavor, and if you want to try them, it's good to administer them as follows. From the beginning of December, give 1 treat per day. After 14 days, increase to 2 treats per day. And then I would give 4 treats divided into 2 doses, meaning 2 treats in the morning and 2 treats in the evening. If you want to maximize the effect of these oils or treats, you can also include regular bio-hemp oil, and in that case, I recommend adding a tablespoon directly to the food. And I'd also be happy to answer specific questions that have come up on this topic. I've written them down here and I have them ready. So, dosage, we've already answered that. Start gradually. It definitely won't work if you only start giving it on New Year's Eve. You need to have your dog on it for a little while. How soon will the drops help? The first effects should be noticeable in about a week. However, it depends on how severe the problem is for the dog. For some dogs, it can take up to 14 days before the full effect is seen. Of course, it also depends on the dosage. If I have a dog that's really scared of New Year's Eve and weighs 4 kilograms, I won't get him the 2% drops, but rather the 5 or 10% ones. But here we're talking about individual cases. And for those and everyone else, our hemp advisory service is also helpful. I'll come back to that later. So how many drops can I give per day? At most. The maximum dose probably isn't strictly limited. The drops do not contain THC, so they can't harm the dog, which was also the next and final question, whether it's possible to overdose. So practically it's not possible. We even had a dog who spilled an entire bottle, licked it up, and nothing happened to him at all. So I wouldn't be afraid of an overdose, but at the beginning, always follow the rule. Less is never more. And of course, I'd also like to invite you to our Cannabis Counseling Center. You can write to me anytime, either at the email address we'll put down here, or call the phone number. I'll be happy to help you with choosing, with dosing, and of course we'll stay in touch overall, and I'll look forward to your feedback.